So we're now live on Facebook as well. I can see people still trickling in here. A couple more to join. And it's about 7:31, so we're going to get things underway there now. So welcome, everyone. My name is Samantha Fitzpatrick. I'm the Marketing and Sales Coordinator at Breakwater Books. And we're here today. This is the launch of Lost in Newfoundland by Michael Winsor. So Lost in Newfoundland is an artistic compendium of Newfoundland's visual wonders, its seascapes, landscapes, cityscapes, and natural inhabitants. This is a fine art homage to an island where, as Michael Winsor himself suggests, every cove, inlet, tickle, island, bay, peninsula, point, or arm is more beautiful than the next. A recent review said, "This little gem is a lovely way to see this beautiful eastern province until visiting in person. All the photographs are so vibrant and absolutely beautiful." While we can't all see each other in person just yet, we can still celebrate the beauty that is Lost in Newfoundland. So before I turn things over to Michael, I just want to let everyone know that this event is being live streamed on Facebook. So as people are joining, I'm going to make sure that you're all muted and that all of your video is off so that we're not distracting from the presentation. However, there will be a question and answer period toward the end of the event. So please feel free to comment in your questions throughout and use the chat button below near the bottom of your screen. And I'll be making sure that Michael gets all of those near the end. We'll also be doing the giveaway draw near the end of the event as well for those of you who have registered. All right, so Michael, I'll turn things over to you.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining. They're from Zoom and Facebook Live. So the plan is within the next 30 minutes or so is I'll show some images from around the island of icebergs, wildlife, landscapes, cityscapes, basically everything that makes Newfoundland so beautiful. So let's just get started. So this image here actually was taken on the top of Western Brook Gorge. I actually camped up there for 2 nights, and this is our view in the morning, just looking out through the tent and then through the fjord. It was absolutely beautiful, and it's probably the best place I ever stayed. I have no room service or had no comfy bed by no means, but it was absolutely beautiful. And I'll talk about this actually, this actual trip later during the presentation as well. So to get things started, let's do a little bit of a puff and love. So this actual picture I took recently this year out in Elliston. Anyone who's out there see the puffins, you know, sometimes they come across to the other place, and then you could get some really remarkable images. And you know, they're so cute how they even walk, they just kind of hobble on. So for anyone who hasn't been out there, I'd highly recommend it. There's another one of just a puffin as they fly over. You know, their wings flap really, really fast. So for any of the photographers that's actually joining here tonight, you know that your shutter speed got you're pretty high to actually try to get their wings actually frozen, sort of thing. So this puffin, this is a little something different. Just kind of cleaning himself, sort of thing. And I just thought it was interesting. Usually you see something, you need something different once in a while, and it's almost like you know, Count Dracula or something. And you know, you got the sharpness still in his eyes and the feathers and stuff. So I thought that was really interesting there. So northern gannets, I don't know if anyone ever been down to the Cape St. Mary's, but if you haven't this season, you definitely go down there. They're absolutely beautiful bird. I think in my mind, they're so underrated. So this particular shot was interesting because I was down there really early in the morning. And it was early in the season as well. I think it was springtime. And there was one bird, or one gannet, pitched out on the bank by himself. And it was just kind of while the sun was setting. So I slowly crept out towards him, and as he looked up, I stopped, And then when he put his head back down in the feathers, because it was having, I guess, a little nap or whatever, then I moved a little bit closer again. And anyway, at the end of it, I was like within 10 feet. So that's why I got, such a close up of the gannet there. But I just love the way the light shine on the feathers and stuff on his head. So even if you go down there and it's foggy, I did some work with Destination St. John's a couple of years ago. And when I pulled into the parking lot, it was so foggy, we couldn't even see the building. But I said, well, we'll go out anyway. And I was blown away by how nice the pictures came out, even in the fog. When I was out there, I noticed the light was shining kind of down in one spot there next to the gannets. And this one was actually bringing back some nesting material. So yeah, it was almost like, I don't know, coming down from heaven or something. So the bald eagle is one of my favorite things to shoot for sure. I saw this image or this actual thing so many times now. This one was shot. It's trying to catch an ocean perch. I don't know if you see the red down here in the corner. Yes, ocean perch is coming in there with his eyes locked down, with his wings wide open. I could never shoot this enough. I always want to be there shooting it like all the time. But yeah. And this is another one that we actually caught, I think it was a herring in the water. So yeah, they're quite remarkable. They're not like the osprey. The osprey dives right in the water, whereas the bald eagle, they just kind of picks out of the water and don't want to get their wings wet. This is probably one of my favorite images. This was taken at sunrise. So this actually was the sunlight in the early morning on the water. And you can actually see just the talons just in the top of the water there. And with the nice color, I thought was remarkable. Almost like liquid gold or something. So the foxes, everybody likes, I guess, foxes, and the little fox kits are really cute. I got this one actually this spring. So some of the images, well, most of the images will be from the book, but I do have some new material put in there too for anyone that would like to see some new stuff. So this was, I found when you're taking pictures, it's like you can take a picture of a fox, but if you can actually capture like an emotion or something that they're doing, and this one it was just kind of just looking at this piece of grass, and just a moment that I guess he's kind of exploring the world or something, or anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. And this one's actually from the book. I think it's on page 2 or 3. So I was out in Maberly, and this one was staring right at me, and at the sunset, and a nice light was shining in his face. That was beauty. I don't know if anyone remember, for the photographers that's listening, that there 2 years ago there was a couple of foxes that used to be up on Signal Hill in the morning all the time trying to catch moles. This was one of the mornings I was up there myself, and you can see there's a little bit of blood on his nose. I think he tried to dive into the snow to catch it, and I think he might have cut his nose there by the look of it a little bit there. But like the sunlight in the morning and in the afternoon, or not afternoon, but evening, sorry, just totally add to pictures. So this is the first time I saw a polar bear. This is up in Torgat Mountains, which is a totally magical place. It's, it just kind of captures your soul almost, and you almost change when you leave there. So this was up in, like I said, Torgat Mountains, and as we're going in Zodiac, we saw in the distance, and the blue actually that you see there on the water is actually the sunlight reflecting from the white coat, and it was gorgeous. And it was just swimming along. We had to stay away because we didn't want to tire him out or something. So then he swam to land, and then he got out of the water. So this is the first time I actually saw a polar bear like full. And I still remember I had goosebumps, and it was such a massive animal. His paw is like 2 of my hands combined, and he ran up over the hills like it was a horse. It was just like so fast. Yeah, it's remarkable. And you can just see the water just right here coming off the bottom of his head and kind of looking back at us. Whales. I don't know anyone that followed me, but I love whales. If all the places I want to be in this world, I'd be out in the zodiac with whales. It's just amazing. So hopefully even this weekend I'll have a chance to hopefully get out, maybe Bonavista somewhere. So this one was captured out in Trinity with the iceberg in the back, and it was actually feeding on capelin there. So anyone that's around, you'll usually see a lot of capelin on top of the water, and they'll start flicking up, and you'll wonder what it is, and then you'll see the big humpback come up and they'll swallow them. Yeah. So this image here I captured a couple of years ago up in Trinity. I never saw a humpback whale so close to an iceberg. And it was funny because I was up there on a tour. There was some people from cruise ship with the Newfoundland photo tours. And on the trip, they saw an iceberg, saw a humpback whale, a fin whale, a minke whale, and they even got some ice to bring back on the cruise ship with them for that evening for their fancy dinner or supper. So they were really excited. And I was excited too because I got the shot, because I only saw the tail once and he dove down and that was it. So yeah, it was pretty cool day for everybody. So something mobile. One evening, I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago, I was up there and they're coming right in the harbor. I said it was probably 12-15 feet from the wharf, if that, and it was coming in, and in this shot you could actually see the capelin, or the fish just kind of escaping there. And they used to come in side by side. So one well didn't capture. The other one, I guess you just get the overflow from all the fish that was in the water. Of course, the sun always adds to the pictures. And this one is kind of like it wouldn't feed him or nothing. He just swam by and he just popped up and kind of showed the baleen. It was like he was giving us a little smile. And I always like this picture. Kind of simple, but just kind of shows like he's giving us a smile. This one was out in Bonavista a few years ago with Discovery Sea Adventures. And here you can actually see his eye right here. If you see my mouse, he's kind of looking at us. So sometimes they're curious and they'll spy hop and they'll come up and they'll have a look at us, and which is really cool. So sometimes they come up halfway, and then sometimes they like to show off, and he comes right out of the water. And that is, if you ever get a chance to witness whale breaching, it's amazing because you got this multi-ton whale just jumping up. It's just totally amazing, and you got the water, coming off his body and stuff. It's just remarkable. So this is probably one of my favorite pictures because I know this is so hard to capture. This was actually shot. He jumped. It was in the Zodiac with Sea of Whales. I was at the time, and there was a bunch of other people there from Ontario, I believe, and they were just the same as me, just going to see whales, and didn't expect to see such a show. And we went out there, and this one actually jumped. I said it was probably 100 feet from the Zodiac. And I could still close my eyes. I could still see it like just come right out of the water. Just big, massive, multi-ton animal. Just come right up. And then the sun sitting in the back as well. So this is like the first, and then it turns and starts to come down. You see the water droplets, just come right off. This starts to enter the water. And then you get the big splash. It was so close, right? It was just like, I don't know, I can't remember if we got weight or not because everyone was so excited and just yelling and screaming. And it was, yeah, one of those times where we all came back and we all looked at each other and everybody was flush and their eyes were watering and everyone was such a good time. It was just one of those moments that I'll never forget for sure. This one's actually from this year, probably 3 weeks ago. I was like with Discovery Sea Adventures at Bonavista, and this is the orca whale. First time I saw orca whales, and that was on the list for a long time. So lucky enough, it was actually on my birthday, so it was quite the birthday gift. And I said I was out there 3 to 4 hours just with them, they're really hard to photograph. Well, they are, well, the dolphin family to consider, even though they're called whales. But the orcas, they're just like pop up and down, up and down. That's so hard to just put this camera on a fast shutter speed and you wait for them to pop up and just fast as you can go. And yeah, so I was happy I got this one coming right at me. Just glad I wasn't in the water. And then I got this one as they were starting to swim out the bay. So you got the I call it the dad or the male orca swimming out, and then that's the baby one behind it, and it's just coming up and just blowing there. And it was amazing, like the dorsal fin on the male humpback. And this one was like 2 meters high. It was first time I ever saw it, and I was blown away. It kind of looks odd because you think it's just going to fall over, but yeah, it was quite the experience. And the thing about Newfoundland, like, you don't show up very often, so if ever gets a chance to see them, highly advise you to go for it. So that's the wildlife part. That's the second. So now I'll get into some of the landscape and pictures and cityscapes and things. So I had this picture in my mind for a while because there was a painting that my wife actually has on the wall up there. And I know painting it, you use your imagination, but sometimes even with the camera technology, it's hard. So I had it in my mind a long time. And to actually saw snow down there one night, and I said, well, I want to go down and try it. And with the, I guess, the right equipment, I was happy to pull it off. The next couple of slides, even though it's, you know, for the book and things, is that the next couple of slides, there's 2 sheds. Actually, it's gone, they're not there no more. Well, this one is still there, but it's almost in the water. It was up there last week or so. And what's cool with this one, it almost looks like cotton candy or something on the thing. It's called the barricaders. And basically what happens is from the rising tide, and when it lows, it keeps freezing up and down, and then you got your, I guess, your cotton candy or popsicle. And this one was taken out in Fogo. This one was this gone too. There was a storm, and unfortunately it broke down. Well, it got blown over, and they had to remove it. But this was an all-nighter. I went to Fogo to take some pictures, and those 2 days in a row was a storm, and you couldn't even go take any pictures. It was so bad. So then I think it was 10 o'clock that one night, I finally cleared off. So I pulled an all-nighter, and this was actually early in the morning at dawn when the actual lights started to come out. That was pretty cool lighting that morning. So just with the winter theme for a little bit, is that this is the reflection over in Bowring Park. Again, for any photographers and stuff, I do find that the first snowfall, where I guess the trees are still warm and stuff, I find that snow really sticks to the branches. So this was taken, I think, probably the first snowfall. And that was cool because, you know, in black and white, you get the contrast and things there. And Portagrave, that's one of the highlights of winter. If you ever get the chance, or if you haven't been there, I recommend to go out there as well, because, you know, even people goes around driving, looking at people's houses for Christmas lights. But out here and watching the boats and reflections in the water, and you got the moon and stuff, you know, as a nice little trip. So it's definitely highly recommended. For this one, I was at Portagrave as well, and I was out there early, and I saw some kids playing hockey on the pond. And then that night when I went back, I noticed that you could see the skate marks in the ice. I'm a big hockey fan. I play hockey and everything too. So for me, it was really cool. So I wanted to take the picture, but I really wanted the detail of the skates I was cutting up the ice. So what I did is I, you know, set up the tripod and got them right pretty much lying on the ice and took this picture, and with the hockey net and things. So it's one of my best sellers for prints. I just, you know, a lot of hockey fans, of course, here in Newfoundland and Canada. So Northern Lights, just like what's shown behind me. So I went to Torgat Mountains. Like I said before, it's absolutely breathtaking up there. And the first time I saw Northern Lights, and I was so excited. And it's just amazing, the movement, and yeah, it just takes your breath away. So this is a base camp up in Torgats. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. So early in the morning, this is probably 3 a.m. maybe, but up there, where you're so far north, that orange on the sky, there on horizon, that's actually from the sun, because you're so far north that actually don't sit below, so you still get that like afterglow that really don't go away. Pretty much you're all night sort of thing. So yeah, so I saw the clothesline and just kind of lined up the shot. But when you're up there, it's really dangerous, because I just showed the polar bears and black bears up there. They're up there as well. They're aggressive, and the black bears even like to eat you up there. So these little poles right here, that's actually the electric fence. I don't think it really would stop a bear, but that's the only thing that was protecting me that night from the bears. I was out there by myself, but I didn't really care, because I was with the Northern Lights, and I just like, I'm only probably going to see this every once, so you know, shoot when you can, sort of thing. But yeah, and it's funny because the first time I saw Northern Lights, you'll get the green up here, and when you use the purples, it's magical. But then sometimes you get like really bright green. So then, as it was moving, I was hoping it was going to come by and light up just the boat that was here. And of course, then when it happened, I was pretty excited. So of course, took the shot. And another clothesline. Got no dryers up there. So my good buddy, Jeff Goodyear, when I was up there at Land and Sea, I'm really fortunate to be able to fly around with him for a full week. And I saw some amazing things. Of course, there's no trees because it's above the tree line, but just remarkable. This particular morning, we was actually leaving to go out, but it was so foggy that we couldn't leave. But then when the fog broke up, that we flew out there, and we actually got like the fog that's over the hills and stuff. It was remarkable. So this is probably the closest time that I think ever was going to die, because I shot this with a wide angle lens, so it kind of looks like there's a lot of room there, but it wasn't. And on the other side there's a cliff, so the helicopter just go down into the pond. But Jeff is a really good. He had 30 years flying helicopter experience, and he said he actually pitched. He was there 1 year, a few years ago by himself, and he had a piece of duct tape put on one of the rocks. So he pretty much put the helicopter right back in the same spot. But yeah, like even the blades were so close to the rocks. So I was like, man, this is it. But made it out of it. But when we landed, I saw this rock down here by the water, and I didn't ask permission if I was allowed to go down there. I just said, I'm getting a picture down there by that rock. So yeah, so then I ran down with rocks fast as I can, and got this shot here with the rock in the foreground and then the glacier. Yeah, it was quite the time. So then it seemed like that week was all magical, and even while we were there, so the glacier here in the back right here start to break up, and then we got the backlight through, with the sun and things through the ice. It was crazy. Yeah, everything worked out during that trip. So sadly, I showed you a picture before with the Torgat Mountains and all the land recovered on a helicopter. The whole time I was up there, the only thing that I saw closer to a caribou was this antler by a lake. And so I was up there talking to the elders up in Hebron, and he said back in his day, it was way back when, he said, it was that many caribou, he said, that the hills used to move. It was like, and now, after all week of traveling, that's the only antler that I saw. I never saw no caribou at all. Yeah. So as we were flying, we went to Sadlak Fjord, which is another, breathtaking, magical place. You can't say enough about the place. We're flying. We had to do a fly around, check for bears before we landed. And as we were going, the sun just started to break through because it was kind of cloudy and overcast before then. And yeah, so as we were making the turn, I shot this out through the window, and just had the light up here hitting the, hitting the hillside and the fjord. It was crazy. And then there was another shot as we were landing as well. I like this picture because it just got a little bit of glow on the hills up here. And believe it or not, down here, if you see my mouse moving, there's a couple of people down there that's in tents. Probably got a small electric fence as well. But yeah, just imagine staying there for a couple of nights. You it's quite the experience. So here in Newfoundland, we're lucky enough, we got fjords too, over on Grossmore, and we got the Western Brook Fjord, Western Brook Pond Fjord, sorry. And this is from my initial presentation slide. Yeah, so what you do if you see my mouse is that there's a little wharf here. So you get and you walk up through and you go through this little meadow and you get down to the bottom. So here is all pretty easy. But when you get down to the bottom, you're pretty much climbing a ladder. You're pretty much on your hand and knees some points. It's it's a hard hike. But when you get up there and the sun sets, it's totally worth it. Just, it's totally magical. It's really hard getting in there too, because when we went in there, it was raining and there was so many flies, like they were going up your nose, man, and, in your ears, and it was, and you had rubber clothes on, so all your heat got trapped in as well. And it was hard. Even we got up there and got our tent set up, I heard all this like picking on the tent. I was like, what's that? It must be raining again. And after we realized it was actually flies trying to get in the tent. So yeah, it was a lot of flies. But again, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. And this is our view from the top. That night is our two tents. And when it comes to stars, I know a lot of people are shooting a comet right now. Same thing, shooting the Milky Way. I love it. Only thing is you got to kind of stay up a bit later, so it'll be a whole lot less sleep, but I'm kind of used to that now because in the summertime you're up early with sunrise and sunset is late as well. So this shot as well was taken out in Fogo with an iceberg. It was more of a growler really. I was wishing it would be a big arch iceberg, but you got to work with what you got. And of course the Milky Way here in the background. And this shot was taken out in Cape St. Mary's. And again, that's the Milky Way in the background. So what's cool about here, so if you're out there in the nighttime, the lighthouse, as it spins around, it actually lights up the birds. So it's almost like light painting, and you don't even have to do anything. It just, have a 30-second exposure or so, and everything else just kind of works for you. And there is still some noise. I know everyone out there see the gannets, even that late at night, there's still some noise from the gannets, but most of them are quiet. It's a lot quieter, but still a bit of noise out there. So again, to reflections, one of my favorite things that I get drawn to all the time is a reflection. This one was taken down in New West Valley, down in the Barber Village. This was actually a 7-second exposure, and for 7 seconds means nothing moved, like not even the rope here. It was, yeah, I never saw something so calm before. It's almost like the water was frozen. But yeah. And this is one that coming, I guess, in Badger's Key. I was just driving by, and it was a golden moon rising. So the color wouldn't change. This is actually the natural color. It was like a golden crescent moon that was coming up with the reflection. So I went ahead and had to stop, take this picture. And one of the cool things is for people that's, I guess, for the business side, is this house right here. They had a lot of siblings. I think they had like 8 sisters and brothers or something. So of course everybody wanted the picture of the actual picture. So that worked out. So this is another reflection. This was just after I think it was a thunderstorm actually, and this is just where I grew up. I spent a lot of my time down here on these rocks running around, and in Pools Island, and yeah, Skipper's Wharf. So not very often you get a really clear, reflection of the city. And I've been over there lots of times, but maybe I saw it 2-3 times. So one night I was fortunate enough to capture it there on Blue Hour. So so you got the reflection from the rooms and Basilica there, and the Coast Guard. And sometimes when you're taking pictures, you got to work with what you got. So this is one summer night down in Newtown again, and everything was really black. It was so black, it was insane. So you kind of work with it, and so basically you just got nothing but the shades, the red and the yellow shades that shine in there. Yeah, so anything different is always good. And just the Rodney or the punt, a lot of people just like just the basic, and again this is just a reflection. And I do, even though you can, as take this with an iPhone, but everyone still like it. I sell a lot of this print. Everyone just likes the basic picture, and I can see why. It's got a lot of history of our old day when it comes to what we used to use for boats and things. So so this one was down there in Rashun, was down there, and that day, and it was foggy like this. And I did see the street light up here in the back, and I said, well, I'll have to come back this evening because at least there'll be some light that actually is shining. It's the first time I was down there, I said, ooh, look, there's a boat that's in the water that's kind of old. And I said, that's perfectly a picture there. So I had to go back that evening and just at Blue Hour and get a reflection. So so when you're taking pictures, if you think there's a picture or whatever there, then just kind of go with your gut sort of thing. And here I was just kind of walking by in Bonavista, and I saw the dandelions, and I was like, ooh, look at they're glowing. So then of course I set up my tripod and got right low and just kind of to capture it. This one was over in Arches, over in Gross Moran area. And it's funny when you're taking pictures, if you go and you see a little glimmer of light on the horizon, it should stick around, because sometimes the sun will pop out and you'll get that really nice sunset or sunrise. So here in this one, it was cloudy, but I said I'll set up my tripod just in case if it comes out, I'll be in a perfect spot. And I said maybe a minute and a half, the sun popped out, and I was lucky enough to get like the light on the rocks around here. And that's what I was kind of hoping for, and up on the cave. Yeah. So even though I didn't have a whole lot of chance to take sunset pictures, I got the one I wanted. So this is out in Cable John Cove. A lot of people call it Spiller's Cove, but this is a beautiful spot over here. I actually went there this morning to see if there's any puffins out this way. And when I went out, I was greeted by this. Yeah, it was just like, it was purple first, and then it turned this bright red, and it's a magical spot. I've been out there so much, and when I do the photo tours with clients from all over the world, really, I just one of the highlights, sunrise at Cable John Cove. And everyone, even when we don't see the sun that morning, they're all still taken back by all the cliffs and things. And like I was saying earlier about the little glimmer of light on the horizon, I was hoping when I went there, it was early in the morning before the sun came up. I was like, oh man, this is going to be a waste of time. But I said, well, I'll get in the right spot just in case if the sun do break through. And again, for like 2.5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes tops, the sun shined through. And what I like about this, you could see like the sun coming up through the hills, and you got like the light on the pieces of grass and things there. Of course, then you got the light shining through that nutshot. So yeah, it's beautiful. Quite blessed to be lived in a place such as Newfoundland. So this one I was going out foot fishing with my dad, and on the way out there was a longliner going ahead of us. And sorry, on the way out, second. On the way out, there was the lights was just coming down, God rays, some people call them, or light rays. And it kind of leads a lot to like fishing boat, to me, going out into the ocean. And we lost a lot of fishing boats and people at sea over the years. And to me, this is kind of like the God rays all come together in one image that kind of means a lot when it comes to that kind of thing. So I did some work with Newfoundland and Labrador tourism a few years ago, and I wanted to take some pictures of the fall over on the west coast, over in Rossmore area. And unfortunately, most of the time it was cloudy and raining, but I did manage to get a day or so. And this one, actually, I was just kind of sitting up there having my peanut butter sandwich, just waiting for the sun to break through. I wanted to hit the down here in the river, in the valley, and so that happened. After waiting a couple hours, and it showed up, so it was worth it. This is probably one of my favorite album pictures, because this was the first snowfall, and you actually just had like the first blanket of snow on the top. And of course, then you got the cabin down here too, right? Which is, I love to have that cabin. And then the light shining through and glowing everything up. It was quite the scene. So the moon, I got a fascination with taking pictures of the moon, and this is taken from the south side using the 600mm lens, I believe it was, and I just kind of waited for the full moon. It's going to line it up so that the moon was completely between the two, I guess, two towers there on the Basilica. And I'm just happy that cloud that was there that actually moved away in time. This one was taken up in Petty Harbour. And it was remarkable too, because first time I really noticed it, that inside the wharf it was very blue, then outside it was very pink color, which is kind of impressive. So this one was taken, I think, at 600mm as well. So it was pretty cool. And again, the moon is down in the Narrows. This is one of the crescent moons, the orange ones that comes up. And just be there, and don't change the color. I didn't. This is actually what the color was at the time. So up in Petty Harbour, I was up there to the aquarium with my family, and I noticed an iceberg with two pillars. And I knew the moon rises on that side. So of course, thinking, what's the chances of the moon actually coming up and getting a shot of the moon between the two pillars? So I went back up that night, and I got an app to tell me where the moon rises. So I went up there, and I took my first picture. And I saw this little glow on the horizon, like, whoa, wait now. And I got very excited. So then, of course, and up in, actually is a Maddox Cove. And anyone who's up there, there's probably a kilometer that's there. And horizontal to the ocean. So I had my big 600mm set up on a tripod. And as the moon is rising, it's going to the right. So in order to keep it into the middle, I had to move to the left. So as I was going up, the moon was going to the right. So I had to keep running to the left with this big tripod and big camera. So it was pretty interesting. But like I said, I did get the shot. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And again, at this point, it was so dark and it started to get so noisy that you had to go ahead and get the shot and move on, sort of thing. And I never saw before, this one actually backlit. So you actually got, I never saw iceberg backlit before. So yeah, that was really cool. So arches, yeah, so this actual arch was over in Catesbear, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and of course attract the crowd. And I tried to get it with the water in the front there. And then as well, I got it with a boat just going out on the horizon, and it had the arch and everything there. And yeah, that's one of my favorite icebergs. If you get one with an arch in it, to try to get there in time. So this is the one. Actually, I got this one breaking up. I went there, and I think I was the only one there. Besides, there's 2 people from Saskatchewan. They came there. It was the first time I saw an iceberg, and so then I was there with my camera, just kind of. Actually, I was having my lunch. I'm back in my truck, and I heard a big clap noise, and I said, "Oh!" So I got my camera up and started shooting, and this is where it started to break up. And like even the chunk of ice that's in the middle, that's bigger than a pickup truck. It's like huge. So imagine being close to that, and then it just starts to break up. And over here, like you see the chunks of ice right in the actual water itself. If you're there in a boat, like you don't have a chance. And the loudest claps of thunder. And again, it keeps it breaking up. And this is what it's like after. So I do have a short clip here as well, so I'll show 2 or 3 times. This is the actual time lapse of it breaking up. I'll show it again. And one more. Yeah, and this is probably one of my favorite icebergs. This actually got, beautiful icebergs, I should say, because it got this blue in it. It was like, I was getting photo and it was just like it's not iceberg, which is exciting. But when I came around the side and saw this big blue and all the detail, I was like, wow. I'm pretty excited over that one. And then just down in Dibman's Bay, and again, you got the blue in the iceberg. And so I did a long exposure as well. So you got the cloudy kind of the motion in the waves. And same thing out in Lumsden. This is one of the years we had lots and lots of icebergs, and you can see them all out here on the horizon, and it's breaking off and just washing up on the shore, on the beach. And this one's almost like a Statue of Liberty, or other people call it other things. But this is another one of those times where it was a cloudy day and there was a little bit of light on the horizon. And then when it broke through, you got this backlight all through here, and there's a little boat down there for scale, which beat up quite the time. Pretty excited that evening. So this is on Battle Harbor. This was like in August, late August, I think it was. And just when I'm taking pictures, just the glow of the light kind of adds to it. But for anyone that never been to Battle Harbor, you definitely should go there, because it just got, it's still like it was 100 years ago. It even got the same boards and stores, and you still get the smell. And when you're walking the boards, your feet will even stick to the boards because the salt and stuff and the still that's in the board itself. It's an amazing place. And it's up in Goose Cove a couple of years ago, and the iceberg kind of photobombing the scene in the back. And then that morning, I actually went up there. I went closer, and I noticed it was a pond, so I got pretty much wet that morning trying to get so low and try to get the reflection. And this was an iceberg that showed up a few years ago in Fort Amherst. It was a perfect spot, just beyond the lighthouse in Fort Amherst, which was quite the scene. Hopefully they'll show up again sometime. We never had many this year, but hopefully now next year they'll be back again. And just I guess the famous iceberg up Fairland. Yeah, this was quite the scene. Everyone was traveling up there, and the pictures, was like in Cuba, in the newspaper, on CNN, everywhere. And this is my my image that actually was on the stamp as well. So naturally enough, it's pretty easy to pick the cover for you know, the Lost in Newfoundland book, because it got everything in here. You know what I mean? They got the fishing boat and the iceberg. You got the old houses and stuff, and even the firewood there in front of the shed. So, and of course, that's the cover of the book. And that's it. If you have any questions, or Samantha, if you got any questions there.
Yeah, there's been plenty of great comments. We've got a few questions too. So I'll just start off with a comment. Lana Shoop said, "They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but yours have left me speechless. Each time I look at your book, Michael, I am struck page after page by your talent and your eye for capturing images."
Oh, thank you.
Joe Oxley asked, "How long have you been photographing animals?"
Really, I started with landscapes, but even now I find myself more drawn to animals. Like, I find myself going to Bonavista, for example, a lot, because I know there's always the puffins, and I know there's some places where I can get pictures of foxes, and the whales are out there as well. Yeah, so, you know, I'd say within the last 2 to 3 years, probably, I've been shooting more wildlife. And yeah, I still like the good landscape or seascape when the timing is right and things like that. But yeah, definitely wildlife has sparked my interest a lot lately.
And Joe also asked, "The virtual screen behind you, is that one of your videos?"
No, that's the one from Zoom. That's the standard one.
Yeah.
I had boxes behind, so I figured that would be better.
Kathy on Facebook asked, "Do you always use a tripod?"
When the light is low, you have to, right? But well, day and at sunset, when the sun goes down, you pretty much have to put on a tripod at that point.
Suzanne asked, well, she said first, "Incredible talent. Do you teach photography? Would love to learn from you. Just incredible."
Thank you. Yes, so Newfoundland Photo Tours, there on the bottom, there's a website that I have there under my own personal website. And basically, yeah, so one of my business as well is that I take people, like last summer I had people from China to Sweden to states and on Canada, Ontario, Calgary, Alberta. So basically I bring them around Newfoundland and I show them how to take pictures. If they don't know how, if there are any points, I give them for shooting icebergs, whales, and I bring them to the right places as well. But I also teach courses, and I just added 3 courses actually on that website for the next 3 Thursdays, I believe. Yeah, so, and if you want to reach out, I'm totally willing to help you out any way I can.
Great. Next question is from Bonnie Bruce. She said, "It must be wonderful to have such a rewarding career. Every picture has an amazing story." She asked, "Wondering how long it takes to get these perfect shots."
Well, it is quite over the last 10 years, I've been traveling the island. It's just remarkable the things I've seen. It's almost like a drug. Like you get the adrenaline going. Like, for example, when I get the whale shot, it's like, you're on cloud 9. I remember the night before, I pretty much had a 3-hour sleep, and I was so tired. But after that shot, I remember waking up probably like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and just looking at it back in the camera just to see if I actually had it. I couldn't sleep. I was just so excited. Everyone else was there as well, right? So yeah, I'm not sure if that was a question or if I went off topic, but.
Donna Francis asked, "Have you had any professional training?"
No, just by making mistakes. I think failure and rejection is so underrated, and everybody don't want to fail or be rejected for anything. But the biggest way to learn is make mistakes. And like I said, now I made a few, and you just learn from it. and you just kind of carry on. Yeah, so yeah, and the biggest thing to learn is just practice. Get out there, and if you want to take a picture of a whale or a bald eagle catching a fish, just go down to Kitty or by your wharf and take pictures of seagulls even until you get it, they're flying around until you get your shutter speed right and stuff. And that's what I would recommend.
Lana Shoup said, I'm curious about the choice for the size of the book.
So I wanted something, I have the book right here. I wanted something small so that the travelers could take it and put it in their suitcase, and a coffee table book as well. So it don't have to be something massive. You know what I mean? It's just something that is a really good example of what Newfoundland is, and it's something that you can carry with them and without having to worry about their luggage.
Mm-hmm. And Lana also asked, how many cameras do you own, and do you have a favorite?
So I do have a lot of cameras, but I sold a lot as well, because I find that I'm never going to use them, so I just want to sell them and kind of reinvest it into other cameras. So I have my whale or wildlife camera, which is my 1DX Mark II. And when it comes to my landscapes, I use my 5D Mark IV. That's my go-to lenses, just because the shutter speed on the 1DX is crazy. It's just so fast. And with the landscapes and the 5D Mark IV, is that I got a touchscreen on the back, and it's just so easy to take pictures in nighttime with it. So that's my two favorite cameras, I guess.
Great. Well, I think that looks like all the questions. So do we want to do the giveaway winners now?
Yeah, whatever you think.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to pop back on here. All right, so giveaway winners were chosen from those who signed up to attend the Zoom event here on Zoom. So I just used a random generator to pick 2 winners, and both winners will receive a signed copy of Lost in Newfoundland. So our winners today are Janet Barkhouse and Stephen Sharp. So Janet and Stephen, congratulations. I'll send you an email just after this event, letting you know how to claim your prizes. And Michael, I just got one more question in actually on Facebook. Donna Wilson asked, do you ever photograph people?
I did some weddings and stuff for family, I guess, and take pictures of my daughter and things, but not really. I really like doing what I do. So if I can actually make a living and career at something I absolutely love and enjoy, then that's where I'm going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Good question, though.
Perfect. Well, unless anybody else has any more questions, we'll start to wrap up here now. Lost in Newfoundland is available from Breakwater Books. We're at breakwaterbooks.com. There's also a list of retailers currently carrying the book available on Michael's website. The link is on the screen there. It's michaelwinsor.ca/lost-in-Newfoundland. Yeah, so thank you very much, Michael. It was a wonderful presentation, and it's an amazing, stunning little book, and we're so excited about it.
Thanks, and thanks everyone for joining in. I do appreciate it, and hopefully I entertained you for the last little while.
I laughed at the bears and that you didn't think the electric fence was going to keep anything away, but the northern lights were just too good.
I think it's an alarm, and then the alarm will bring people out with their guns, I guess, with rubber bullets. But at that point,
Right.
you'll probably be eaten anyway. But
anything for the perfect shot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone, and have a good night.